welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACTN. We are on every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 to 9, where we bring you something that is relevant to the sports in Trinidad and Tobago. And on today's program, we're going to be talking cricket. Cricket really is a hot topic these days, especially with the performance of our present West Indies team and also our local Red Force team. We are not performing the way that we or the supporters of cricket will want to see. So we're going to be talking to my guests concerning what is the real issue behind the state of cricket in the West Indies. But before we get into that, I want to say a big shout out to the members of the prison service, the officers and the members of the Rise Maximum radio station, and also the members on the futsal team. I know that at the prison, and we saw it yesterday firsthand, the televisions are always on ACTN, so they get us, 24/7, and it's a pleasure that we can be bringing something positive to the prison service of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, let me introduce my guest for today. It's none other than Dr. Allan Sammy, the longest serving member of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board, also a member of the West Indies Umpires and Match Referees Subcommittee. Dr. Sammy, it's a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And I know that I'm going to enjoy this interview because when you're talking cricket, you are the man to give us all the information from behind the scenes. Now, as I said earlier, both the West Indies cricket team and our present Red Force cricket team is not doing as well as we would accustom. There could be a number of different reasons. Wood on the ground is that we don't have the Bravos and the Pollards and the Narines and these guys on the Red Force team. But you cannot have these guys forever. So the younger guys who get the opportunity to be selected in the absence of these guys, they are the ones supposed to be really staking a claim. And we don't always see that. Likewise with the West Indies team, when the big names not around and we give the younger guys, they're not seizing that opportunity. Talking West Indies cricket, where do you see the real issue with our cricket lies?
Well, first, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's always a pleasure being on TV, your station in particular. I recall the last interview we had to do with flooding in Pinal de Bay, indeed in the entire Trinidad and Tobago. And that received some feedback. I received a lot of good feedback in terms of from the viewers. Let's talk a bit about cricket, though. As you know, I've been around in the cricket for some time. And of course, like everything else, I'll have to eventually give it up, and maybe this year. So what I've been able to observe since 1977, when I was the secretary of the Trinidad and Tobago Colleges Cricket, I think we called it at that time, but it's secondary schools cricket.
Yeah, that's where you came in.
That's where I came in
cricket,
1977.
Yeah.
Excuse me, a lot has happened since then. And it has happened in cricket, but it has also happened in the wider landscape. And when people say that the governance structure has to change at the West Indies Cricket Board level, or even at our level, what I have found is that it's not reflective of what's happening in the larger society. And let's examine for a brief moment what have been the changes in values of young people since 1977. Excuse me, because we're talking 4 decades. And what has happened really is the values in society have changed in a fundamental way. Whereas when we were younger, we had paid greater respect to our parents, that there were few distractions in our lives, that people working very hard to survive as they are now, but there was a mother at home, for example, that there was a greater cohesion in the family structure, that people would go to church more often, that they would subscribe to some of the cultural values that they had inherited, whether it's from Africa, India, China, wherever it is. A lot of those values have been challenged since that time, and that people now do not see life in the way that we do. So even a simple fundamental value that you place on life and the right to live and the right to survive and the right to enjoy benefits of society those two are being challenged by young people. So young people, for example, in some parts of Trinidad will tell you, what's the use? I'm going to die at 25, I'm going to die at 30. And there's a resignation among the young people that is alarming. And it's a reflection then of the changes of values. Now, there are all kinds of reasons that sociologists, anthropologists, economists, other people will advance, which I'm sure are all equally valid. But cumulatively, what we have had is an effect where people not as focused as we were in our younger days, that there are more external attractions, that there's more surplus income. It appears on the surface, so that people can buy things and dispose of things very readily. And we have found then that their attitude is translated into cricket, believe it or not. So you find then that the attention to sport and what is required to pay attention to things like focusing when you're batting, excuse me, or training while you're bowling or fielding, that is no longer there. And we had to actually force our fellows on the Trinidad team back into simple things like physical conditioning. So we have instances now where the fellows, when they're preparing for the national team at the senior level, they must get back to some of the fundamentals, the running and the jumping and the skipping and so on. And they even make jokes about it, and they say, all right, are we ready now to go for a marathon? And this is something that had been slowly slipping away. And some modern coaches are saying, well, you don't have to focus too much on that. You must more focus on what your area of expertise is. So there have been some changes even in the coaching methods and so on over time. But my point that I'm really trying to make is the sociology of the society has. That people now view life different, and it's reflected in cricket. It might even be reflected in all sport. So this thing about dedication and focus, there is a theory that if you practice 10,000 hours at your craft, you learn to master it. But in the process of practicing, you must have quality control. That you must have people ensuring that you don't repeat the same mistake 10,000 hours. So it is not merely 10,000 hours, and that's the magic figure they like to quote. And I don't think that that's there anymore. Paul had cause a few years ago to point out he was practicing in nets 5 hours a day, and a certain cricketer, an Australian, said to him, well, why are you practicing so long? He said, well, if I'm going into bat, must I not bat 5 hours? So his mindset is totally different, and that is the old-time mindset. And young fellas now have to some degree been spoiled by T20. Now, let me explain, I'm not against T20. In fact, I've advanced both at the Trinidad board and the West Indies board that we must have dedicated T20 cricketers, because it's a livelihood that you can't deny, that people all over the world, and it is not only West Indians, we say West Indians are hungry to make money in a short period of time, but everybody is. And it's something we must live with, and that's one of the values I spoke about, where in our day we'll be patient and we'll accumulate. People are saying, no, I am seeing other people accumulating quickly. Why can't I also accumulate in an honest, legitimate way? So they are doing that also. And therefore, there is a T20 culture that is existing now that we must embrace. And I depart from my colleagues in that regard by saying that, excuse me. And I am saying let's focus on 3 sets of cricket. The white ball cricket, as they call it now, which is the T20 and the 50 over, and the red ball cricket, which is the test match.
So you don't see our present West Indian cricketers taking part, like, you want to see 3 separate teams?
I would like to see emerge eventually 3 separate teams. It's 3 separate areas of expertise. It's 3 separate areas of mindset. But the basic skill remains. When you are batting in a T20, the straight bat still applies. You turn your bat maybe at the last minute. But we tend to now be only onside players. Everything is down the leg side. And it appears to the public it's a whooping game and I must score plenty runs. And that might be so. But that does not mean, however, that you violate the fundamentals. You must still have a straight bat. You must still put your foot to the ball and that kind of thing. It has improved cricket tremendously in that fielding is much improved now. Catching is improved. Even the ability to hit has improved, and the techniques involved in hitting have improved with T20 cricket. So I have certainly not distant T20 cricket. It's very important to our cricket development. And very importantly, that's what the people want.
Yes, the excitement.
Excuse me, let me make that point again. People are saying, oh, but the purity of test cricket is being eroded. I say you can have test cricket. And those who want to look at test cricket, let them look at test cricket. You could have 50 overs cricket, which is a whole day, 100 overs a day. Or you could have T20 cricket, which is 40 overs and the game is done. And if people are excited by that, why don't you provide that for them? It's clean, healthy fun. It has a lot of positives in it from the point of view of your own health, your own development. But it also helps earn an income for you. So I am totally for T20 cricket. But I am saying, let us accept that not everybody can play all three forms of the game.
Because we see outside cricketers, some cricketers, I think Steve Smith is one, that can play all forms of cricket.
Some, they are the exception.
Cooley could play all forms of cricket.
I think young Bravo can play all forms.
Yes. Yeah.
He's gifted in that way. But I am saying not many people can do all three forms. They don't have the patience, they don't have the mindset, they don't have the wherewithal to do it. The tools, if you wish, the fundamental tools. So those are the exceptions. But certainly there are those who like the more explosive form of the game. And why can't you have them play that form of the game and let them earn a healthy income? But the fellow who is in 50 over now, he says, well, listen, my colleague is playing with me on a team. He's earning 5 times my salary. So what about me? I can't play that form. I play 50 overs, but I provide an equally valuable input into the development of sport. Or even the test match. Some fellows can play the 50 overs as well as they can play a test match. So the issue then becomes one of salary or pay, or stipend or remuneration. How does one who plays the test cricket be remunerated in a manner in which he feels comfortable that he can focus on that? Because that's their living, eh?
Yeah.
Cricket is a game, but it's an industry too, eh?
Yeah. And you have no pension to get.
Yeah, nothing to get from that.
Yeah.
It's not unlike, it's not unlike being a contract worker in any place. You get a gratuity and you're gone. And cricket is like that. So we accept that. But you must earn something that is considered decent. The player must consider that. Unfortunately, what has developed over time is there's always a friction or fight between those who play the game and those who are in a governance and who are in governance and must then take a decision on how do you allocate the resources which you have. If we could come back to West Indies cricket. West Indies cricket is at the lowest ebb. And I'm saying it's reflective of the people who go through the system, trying to play all the games and reach to the West Indies board level.
But how have we arrived at this point?
It's happening all over the world. Eh?
Okay.
Notice some of the test cricketers in England and Australia saying, listen, test cricket is not for me anymore, you know. I'm looking at the 50 over, more so the IPL. If you're a good IPL player, you can earn as much as $1 million in 6 weeks. And I'm calling this the basic salary is fixed. But then there are endorsements and all kinds of legal deals which people make, which can bump your salary to $1 million. Imagine you get $1 million in 6 weeks if you're the best. So let's say $500,000 for the average fella. $500,000 is what? 600. How much is it in Trinidad money? Plenty money.
Yeah.
Multiply by 7 or 6 or whatever. And you're getting that for 6 weeks of cricket. And then you can go and play in another similar tournament, which does not pay you as much. And you have now 2 or 3 options. You have the Bangladesh League, you have the Australian League, you have the English League. Now, I think there's Pakistan League has emerged. So you have options and you can skip from league to league and you can play cricket throughout the year. And at the end of the year, I don't know how much taxes they pay and who they pay to. But you can have $2 million TT dollars if you're good enough in 1 year. So you weigh that against a fellow who is playing 50 overs cricket. And if he gets 200,000 TT dollars, is a lot of money. You will not even get that. Don't talk about test cricket.
And that's up over 5 days.
And you see, so I have to start thinking like the young fellas, which I'm doing now. And accepting that you must have that. That's a reality. But we were talking a bit about West Indies cricket. So West Indies people now at the governance level have to take a decision. Well, what am I going to do? How do I handle this? And I'm saying it's not only our challenge. It's a challenge in England. It's a challenge all over the world. And all the boards are having a similar challenge. And some are coming to the realization, listen, you have to have specialist squad. And that is emerging. And it's been emerging for a little while now. And the players themselves are adjusting to it. The difference is they have more money. Because they are winning. And when you win, you get more money. When you lose, of course, you don't get much. So there's a smaller pie to share. And that's where our challenge is as a West Indies society. First, it's the conflict, if you wish, between those who are willing to pay the T20, the 50 over, the 5-day cricket, as against those in other territories who can do it because they have the financial capability and we don't have it. And that's a major challenge. Now, recently I've noticed where a lot of CARICOM leaders
they are getting
are calling for governance, new governance. If you don't mind, let's spend a minute there. Is that all right?
Yeah.
What's this governance, the thing they're talking about? Good governance. And to start with, I look at some of the CARICOM leaders. To start with, I think CARICOM, from the point of view of cricket, I'm not about CARICOM as an agency, has been a colossal failure because they have been unwilling to really carry their commitments that they mouth public to implementation stage. So a few years ago when there was a decision among the major CARICOM players to put a certain sum of money into West Indies cricket, only Trinidad agreed, and Trinidad, I think, said, okay, we'll advance the money. And nobody else did, but they were mouthing it publicly. But yes, we'll contribute to the fund. So CARICOM contributes nothing to West Indies cricket from the point of view of support and governance. Now, CARICOM will challenge me and say, but when you come through the airport, I make things easier for you. So that's a contribution. Or we put money in 2007 into a collective pool to help develop stadia. But 2007 is how many years ago?
Definitely.
That's 11 years ago, is it? And I'm saying, what have you done since? How have you integrated what you want into a tourism plan for the Caribbean, where cricket and tourism marry each other? Or how have you integrated it into, you have reliefs for stuff that is coming in, bats, balls, pads, that kind of thing. And you say, okay, I will give you a special tariff relief on those kinds of things. How have you said that we as CARICOM collectively, let us bring in certain coaches and we will pay for those coaches and we'll assign them to territories to help the territories? What have they done? They have done nothing. But some of the CARICOM leaders, and of course you can't call names on this program, when you check their own countries and the way their own countries are being governed, they want to govern West Indies cricket and they can't govern their own territories. No, and that's a serious point. Or if you can't take care of your own house, or when you take care of a ministry or take care of a government. And I'm always flabbergasted when I hear these fellas come together every so often and say, West Indies cricket
Is it that they're coming together when the pressure from the cricket supporters, come down, that they decide, well, okay, we're going to, it's a PR then?
Let me tell you why it's a PR. I know that all governance structures must be reviewed, even local cricket. We had recently an independent review committee report on local cricket, and we're seriously looking at it. There are some good recommendations in it. But everybody has a solution, and then you say, okay, let's cost the solution, and let's find out what are some of the assumptions under which you have developed your report, whether it's for Trinidad cricket, West Indies cricket, any cricket. Then you start to see this thing, well, that'll cost 5 million, that'll cost 15 million. Where are you getting the money? Oh, sponsors will give us the money, government will give us money, but they never give you the money. So everybody has a grand plan, but when you cost the grand plan, you realize where are you going to get the money from?
And that plan goes on a shelf.
But our society, we specialize in we woulda, or we shoulda, or we coulda. If you put me in charge and you say, all right, come and help me now, but they can't help you, because all they have is ideas at the mouth, but they don't think it through. But let me get back to the point I was trying to make. The West Indies governance structure is as follows. There are 2 from each territory, of which there are 6. Now, we say territory, I call the Windwards territory for this purpose. It's composed of a number of islands. The Leewards, for example, is 8 territories, but they play under one banner, which is the Leeward Island. And of course, Jamaica is independent, Barbados, Trinidad. So you have 14 or 16 sovereign nations under 6 territorial boards represented on the West Indies. So that's 6 by 212. That's on the West Indies board, the structure. And then you have 2, a president and a vice president, who may come from the 6, who may come from outside of the 6 territories.
So Sammy, could you hold that thought one second? We need to take a break.
Certainly.
Yes, we're going to take a short break. Remember, you're viewing Scoreboard here on ACTN, and we are discussing cricket. We'll be right back after the short break.
now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
But my first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we played together, I've always been the decoy.
Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua DeMatos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh, what's that? Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have
Women have gone inside 11 seconds. Michelle Liai is the fastest of them all. She looks relaxed, she looks composed, and this is arguably her best opportunity to take a major title. Is she going to produce Trinidad and Tobago's first female athletics gold medal in the Commonwealth arena?
Crowd goes silent. We are set to go. The women's 100-metre final at the 21st Commonwealth Games here on the Gold Coast in Australia. More than 35,000 people wait with anticipation. Away in the 100-metre final, Michelle A.E. gets away to a very good start. The challenge, though, comes in the inside lane coming from Khalifa St. Fort, but it will be, in fact, the athlete from Trinidad and Tobago. History is made. History is made. Michelle Lee A.E. takes the gold medal in a very good time of 11.14 seconds. And isn't she delighted? What a performance from the pre-race favourite. It's all one thing being a pre-race favourite. You've got to stand up, you've got to deliver, and she has done that. And Christina Williams of Jamaica will take the silver medal in a time of 11.21. Gaian Evans of Jamaica, the bronze medal in a personal best time of 11.22.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard. Dr. Sammy was saying before the break.
Right. I thought with the governance structure, people question the governance structure. And it seems to me they are offering to the public hope that if the governance structure changes, that the fortunes of the West Indies team on the field of play will change.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a fallacy. So I am saying, I'm acknowledging that there is need for a constant review of governance structures, private sector, public sector, even in the NGO sector. It's important that you continually upgrade, improve and enhance whatever you have. So here we have a situation where the West Indies board structure, the governance structure, is composed in the following way. 2 from each of the 6 playing territories, that's 12. Then a president and a vice president, that's 14. And then 4 by invitation, and I'll tell you the 4 in a minute. So that's 18. So there are 18 people who form the West Indies Cricket Board who have rights. The 4 can't vote on certain fundamental things, and the other 14 will. And then you have at the AGM 5 others by invitation who can make an input in the course of 1 year to another year. And let me tell you who those 5 others are. It is the Caribbean Industry of Chamber and Commerce, CARICOM.
Okay.
They don't represent CARICOM, but it's the Caribbean Chamber of Industry and Commerce. They have an input into West Indies cricket. They come to the AGM.
But can they vote?
They can't vote.
Oh, but
what they are coming for is an AGM.
Okay.
To listen and to propose and that kind of thing. The only people who can still vote are the 2 from each territory, who are the representing the shareholders. And they are not the directors, by the way. They're different people. So you have Caribbean Industry Chamber of Commerce. You have Caribbean Tourism. You have Caribbean Tertiary Education. Now, these are all CARICOM level operational people. We are not talking about one from this territory. So they are elected by their own group, their own organization. So you have tertiary, you have Chamber of Commerce, you have tourism, you have CARICOM itself. And there is one more that slips me now. And I am saying they're all CARICOM level people. So it is not that CARICOM is not represented at the AGM, you know. Yeah. I put a question 2 years ago when I went to represent Trinidad and Tobago in Jamaica. I said, why can't CARICOM, those 5 people only, come together and propose a 100-day plan? No, propose a plan for West Indies cricket, but within 100 days. So come up with a structure. Tell West Indies cricket what you must do to change your governance structure, or what you must do to attract cricket, or what must you do to enhance the quality of cricket that we play. And they didn't do it. And then I repeated it again last year, and they still did not do it. So what you have is fellas are coming who are purportedly representing CARICOM interests. But yet the 5 of them cannot come together once for the year and say, what is our plan? And let's come up with that plan within 100 days. So where's the problem with the governance structure? Is it that they should be elected then and become part of your board? And will that change the mindset? Will that change the governance structure in a fundamental way? They already are bringing areas of interest into the West Indies cricket. And incidentally, the other 4 people I told you, who are on the West Indies board in their regular meetings and so on, one represents CARICOM, and they elect that person. One is by invitation, banking, and there is a person from the St. Kitts and Nevis who is a female, and she's the first female on the West Indies board. She's been there for a few years. She represents interests that are specific to banking, but any interest.
Yes.
And then you have a person from Jamaica who is also a lawyer, but into tourism and that kind of thing. So you have a mix of skills that change from time to time that are brought in to strengthen the West Indies board for those who are elected through their territorial board. So that governance structure is saying, all right, so you'll change that. And what do you intend to replace it with? Tourism is already represented. You have CARICOM is already represented. Chamber of Commerce is already represented. Tertiary education is already represented. Those are important stakeholders, and they are represented already. So if you're going to change it, what is it you're going to do different? Is it just the structure? And will the structure then bring meaningful transformation of West Indies cricket? And that is what I question. So I am not against people saying, talk about the governance structure and so on.
But what are you bringing to the table?
What are you bringing to the table that is not currently there? So to me, the issue is not governance. The issue is the ability of territorial boards to roll out their program, because the players come from territories. West Indies board does not produce test cricketers.
Yeah, they come from each region.
They come from each region. So let's drill down a bit. The problem is with territorial boards. But territorial boards in turn have no resources because their own countries do not support them. Let me give you a good example. Recently, we went on a 19 World Tournament.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying if it's this one or no one or the one before, even the one before that, because then I will reveal, they will reveal who I am talking about. Yeah. And one fellow who was very senior in the management structure, who went on the tour with them from a particular island. I said, boy, your prime minister always talking about cricket, and we do this for cricket, and we must do that for cricket, and so on. He's sounding real good. What does he do for your country's cricket? And nearly calling him. He said, boy, nothing. He said, the only time they get any funding from the state is when that team has to go to play another team, they will get assistance. I say, so don't they have coaching programs? Don't they help you with pitches? Don't they have a program for curators? So you'll improve the quality of the outfield and the pitch and so on. You have anything for administrators? Do you have anything for financial planning? Anything like that? He said, you dreaming. And that fella does flappy gum plenty at the highest level. And I am saying he's indicative of all the others. There are few exceptions, very few. And most of these fellas will not in a very fundamental way help the structure of cricket in their own country. Let me give you an example of Trinidad and Tobago. The Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board has been punished badly by both governments, UNC and the PNF. They have not got money from them under a particular minister in the UNC and under a particular minister in the PNF. And Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board last year, in the estimates debated in Parliament, had an allocation of $2 million. We got $246,000.
That's for the running of the... Yes, because that was the reason why they had also cut some of the tournaments that shorter time. Yes,
everything has been cut. We have reduced 3-day cricket to 2-day cricket. We have changed the 50 over. We have done that. We're making it into interzone. So it's not that we're crying. We're going ahead and doing what we have to do. People are saying, well, what are you, Trinidad and Tobago, doing to raise your own funds? We are, because we participate in the regional tournaments at all levels, entitled to money from the West Indies board. So you are promised 100,000 US a year for your own development, but they don't have money either. So you don't get 100,000. You get 50,000. And then we had certain sponsors, and there are certain people in cricket who have their own agenda, not of which, all of which is pure, in which they are so determined that they must get into the system that they don't mind bad-mouthing you with everybody, particularly your sponsors. And I don't think sponsors are foolish, but at the same time, they too are going through trouble. So the money has been reduced. So we are under severe financial stress in Trinidad and Tobago, but it is not peculiar to Trinidad and Tobago alone. When I talk to the fellows from Guyana and Jamaica and Windward and Leeward, they are worse off than us. Would you believe that? Because they too have no cash flow. And their governments are also under stress. So where is the money coming into sport? Sport is the first item on the agenda that any government cut. And yet we cut it, and then we go outside and say, the most healthy environment you must have is a sporting environment, because sport helps to develop your physical being, it helps to develop your mental being. It keeps you off the street. There is less crime because you're engaged in wonderful exercise. That's what they say. And then when you hear the budget, oh, well, I cut sport by 40%. Something had to go. You can't cut health. You can't cut education. You cut sport. So sport is the first to suffer, but it's the first one that people mouth off. It's most important to development of young people to keep them out of crime. So there's a contradiction there. And the point I'm really making is, you therefore have no resources. You have to make do with your wits. And these are the territories then are expected to produce a Clive Lloyd, and a Vivian Richards, and a Larry Gomes, and a Brian Lara, and a Small Bravo. How you could do it if you don't have the resources? All our cricket people in Trinidad and Tobago and up the islands are volunteers, you know. You want professional output, but you are willing to accept amateurs at this level. And then your solution is, well, hire more professionals. Say, fine, man, we want some. Where we get any money? Well, me and all, you go find it now. Have a roti queue or a curry queue or chana queue or something and raise the money. You know, you had to do that. What kind? You don't govern like that. You have to say, what is my 5-year plan for cricket? What is my 5-year plan for agriculture and so on? We used to do that long ago, you know. And then people scrap 5-year plans. They say that has no use. But it's very important. The solution lies in planning, but you must have the ability to implement. And in between the planning and implementation is the resources, the human resource, the financial resource. How do you harness that? So the West Indies board and the Trinidad board have been surviving on volunteerism. Other boards, because they have greater cash flow,
they can pay,
and because they can pay more, and the cash comes from television and endorsements. The cash does not come from spectators. We have a spectatorship in the Caribbean maybe of 6 million viewers. In India, a club game probably has 6 million viewers.
True.
The money they can raise from television, we can raise it. So we survive on these television when we go out abroad or when people come here and the toys are attractive too. Next year, England is coming. The West Indies board will make money. This year, Pakistan or somebody is coming. I forget who now. But somebody will not attract any viewership. So I am saying, notice the thread I'm trying to weave through this thing. We have some of the answers. We know what to do. But it is the cost of doing it. And where does one get the income? And then
you must invest money to make more money.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it reflects then in even people's willingness to play cricket. And that's why fellas are saying, listen, this longer version, there is nothing in it for me. I have to live because it's a very harsh environment out there. It's a challenging environment. 1 in 500 might make it onto a T20 team, 1 in 1,000 maybe, out of each territory. It's very few. So they're hungry for it and they're going for it. And as again, I want to endorse, I'm totally for that. But at the same time, CARICOM governments must put resources, and I'm not talking only money. Put resources into cricket if you want cricket to improve. Put resources into athletics if you want athletics. Put resources into football, and I'm not only speaking for cricket, I'm speaking for all sport. Put money into these, or money, or if not money, put people into it. I'd propose a simple model. You have people who have enterprises that are doing well in the society. I'm talking about manufacturers, industrialists, and so on. Ask a company to lend you a person skilled or have expertise in a certain area to come into your board on loan, but you pay them. And lend them to you for a year to help you develop your human resource, or help to develop your marketing strategy, or to help develop your ground preparation strategy. And you lend them, excuse me, for a year or 6 months, or depending on what the program is for how long. That is not money. That is you lending a resource you are paying anyway, but you are lending it to a local government. Sorry, you are lending it to a sport. And it could be for cycling, it could be trainers, you know, it could be physiotherapists.
I follow you, yeah.
Yeah, any one of those. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is money. You need cash. You need money to run your business. I make the point again that most of these sports, indeed all of them as far as I know, are all volunteers. So you're not lending people money to pay staff, you know. You're lending people money, or you're giving people money to pay professional staff. You have to pay your CEO. You have to pay your secretariat. You have to pay those people. You have to pay the people who prepare your ground and what have you. But otherwise, you are lending resources of another kind. To some degree, it exists in practice. Most of the grounds we play cricket on in Trinidad belong to local government.
Yeah.
So local government make an input by preparing the pitches and preparing the outfield. And then the clubs will have an arrangement with the local government to use those grounds. So I don't want to get the impression government has totally absolved itself. It helps indirectly in that they're doing it through local government. And I want to get credit for that. But why can't you help in other aspects of the sport? And not only cricket. And I want to speak for football too, and I want to speak for athletics and table tennis and volleyball and the so-called obscure sports, the Scrabble and so on, which are very important. Chess, all of them very important. But they don't have the prominence of a cricket or a football and so on. But lend resources for those things. Make venues available. Waive the rental fee. You know, bring people to the site by lending a bus or something. So you're not putting out dollars.
Yeah, I follow your point here.
Yeah. I don't want to believe at that point. So there are a set of things I've tried to say today, one of which has to do with the governance structure. I'm saying, yes, it must be reviewed constantly, but it must be realistic. It must not, at the end of the day, leave more questions to be answered than questions asked. So you must not say to me, this is the grand plan, but you must find the resources. It doesn't work like that. Volunteerism is something that is cultivated over time. It is done from your heart. It is done out of love. And it is in all sport, but it is also in the NGO sector. It's even in the private sector. So people who are in the Autism Society, for example, I'm sure they're all volunteers. And everybody in any society in our country, they're all volunteers. I'm not saying pay them. I don't want that to disappear. But you cannot propose a structure that contradicts how you currently operate. You cannot propose a structure which at the end of the day means that you must have more money, or you must hire more professional people, and you don't know where those resources are coming from. And that's where people have a problem. So a lot of the armchair critics I meet, or even the people who write on CARICOM and write about cricket and so on, they have wonderful ideas, and they're valid ideas. But when you ask a hard question, well, where do you get the resources to make that happen? The answer is always the same. Well, you find it now. And all you're in charge, all you find it now. And it can't work so. So there has to be a coming together of all minds. The Trinidad board has just proposed where the 11 sports that fall under the sport company should come together and should agree on how they can help share resources.
Okay.
So we are saying, for example, if football has a bus, Trinidad Cricket Board has no bus. So when we need a bus, lend me a bus.
Yeah.
And share your trainers, share your physiotherapists, share your medical panel, share your people who do mind development, financial planning, share those kinds of resources. So at least we will help the government in saying, I have no money, but at least I can help manage, bring the resources together. A beautiful cluster is developing now in the Couva area, as you know. You have cricket, you have swimming, you have football,
cycling.
You have cycling, you have indoor.
It's a sporting hub right now.
It's becoming a sporting complex. So people don't have to go very far, you know. They can use the cricket board's facility, they can use the facility at the aquatic center or at the cycling center. So it is not that the facilities are not there, the benches, the tables, the people, everything is there. So we have proposed bring all together and let's see how we can start sharing.
All right, we need to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk a bit about, we just recently qualified for the 2019 World Cup. What are some of the changes that you feel or that you see the need in order for us to be competitive? Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Women have gone inside 11 seconds. Michelle Liai is the fastest of them all. She looks relaxed, she looks composed, and this is arguably her best opportunity to take a major title. Is she going to produce Trinidad and Tobago's first female athletics gold medal in the Commonwealth arena?
Crowd goes silent. We are set to go. The women's 100-metre final at the 21st Commonwealth Games here on the Gold Coast in Australia. More than 35,000 people wait with anticipation.
Away in the 100-metre final, Michelle A.E. gets away to a very good start. The challenge, though, comes in the inside lane coming from Khalifa St. Fort, but it will be, in fact, the athlete from Trinidad and Tobago. History is made. History is made. Michelle Lee A.E. takes the gold medal in a very good time of 11.14 seconds. And isn't she delighted? What a performance from the pre-race favourite. It's all one thing being a pre-race favourite. You've got to stand up, you've got to deliver, and she has done that. And Christina Williams of Jamaica will take the silver medal in a time of 11.21. Gayan Evans of Jamaica, the bronze medal in a personal best time of 11.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACTN. Dr. Sammy, I know we wanted to talk about our recent form going into the qualifiers and the World Cup coming up, but I know that you recently came back from Barbados and there is a plan, that agenda that the West Indies Cricket Board has put in place. I mean, you want to share that with us?
Certainly. Well, I was on the West Indies board for 8 years, between 2005, 9 years, to 2014, and I'm now considered an alternate director. So the president couldn't go. I'm the first vice president of the Trinidad board, so I attended the meeting and represented Trinidad. Well, it's not really representing Trinidad. The structure is that you are from Trinidad, but when you go there, you're a director, so you represent Caribbean interests. And that needs to be made clear. But I think that viewers ought to know that when you go there, people say, well, what do you talk about? What is the agenda? It was over 2 days, and these are the minutes of that meeting. And I show it to your viewers only to show you that I have printed the hard copy, by the way. They don't ever give you hard copies. And that's part of the course cutting. It's all done electronically. And I'll quickly go through the agenda so people will understand the seriousness with which West Indies Board deals with its business. Well, the usual thing, they call to order, the prayers and so on. But the confirmation of the minutes, like in any good organization, you need to have minutes and you need to confirm them. And matters arising. But very importantly, it's cricket matters. And there's something called report from the director of cricket. So that report was tabled. And then the cricket report to the AGM, that too was tabled. The executive report, the CEO's report. So there are a number of reports that must be presented and debated. Report on the strategic plan, and of course the Chief Operating Officer's report, the COO's report. A lot of time too is spent on finance matters, financing initiatives and the borrowing resolution, management accounts, cash flow projections, commercial matters, report from the commercial director, audit, risk and compliance matters, report from the audit committee, top risks of Cricket West Indies, and they report to the AGM, and of course other items like correspondence and so on. So everything is discussed in detail, and of course there are teleconferences between these bigger conferences. So there are there is interaction continuously among directors of the West Indies Cricket Board, dealing with cricket matters and looking at short-term plan, medium and long-term plans. So the new strategic plan, for example, which I'm hoping to make public, at least the Trinidad Cricket Board in a short time, speaks to some of the issues they are looking at from the Cricket West Indies point of view, but the relationship between Cricket West Indies and the territorial boards. They understand the centrality of territorial boards to the development of cricket, and that's acknowledged in the documents. And they know that without territorial cricket, you can't have West Indies cricket. So I wanted to point out that when you go to a meeting of this type, that the committees that are in place are committees of well-established names in the Caribbean environment, whether it's in the area of, depending on what the matter is, it might be in the area of legislation, it might be in the area of marketing, it might be in the area of cricket development and other matters like that. And a lot of former West Indies players are represented in some of these cricket committees. It is not a cricket committee of only non-cricketers. A lot of former cricketers are involved. Indeed, 2 years ago, there were 14 or 16 former West Indies players who were employed directly or indirectly by the West Indies board. 14. And I am talking either working within the secretariat or as managers, or as coaches, or as selectors. And people say, we don't make use of our former stars. That's not true. People have forgotten since Rohan Kanhai, Andy Roberts, Vivian Richards, Courtney Walsh, Clive Lloyd, Joel Garner. They have all been involved at the highest level in West Indies cricket. But we were losing. And people are saying, employ one of the icons, bring on more icons. We're still losing. So you see, the point I'm making is bigger than them. They had luster, they bring something. So when you sit, you always learn from them. But the answers can't be there alone. The answers are also administrative and organizational, which is not their area of expertise.
I think people's mindset is that once we bring Lloyd and Richards, they from an era where we were winning. So automatically when they come on board, we're supposed to go back to winning.
I had the good fortune of sitting with Clive Lloyd for 4 years on the West Indies board, and with Joel Garner too. And they bring their respective wisdoms to the board meeting. But then there are certain things, nobody can be an expert in everything. So when you talk about finance, or you even talk about certain areas of administration and so on, depending on your area of expertise, you're at sea. But you learn collectively from everybody else. So when they talk about cricket matters, then that wisdom, everybody listens to them. But when a Don Webby or Clifford Rees or somebody else speaks about business development and the business model, it's a different area, and we are all at sea because that's an area we're not familiar with, including the cricketers themselves. But when you have a man of the stature of Don Webby, who is the CEO of the Grace Group of companies, he's off the board now, but I was fortunate to sit with him. And he speaks to issues of risk. Now, these are fellows with companies all through the Caribbean, and even in some other parts of the world. I'm no more Grace from out of Jamaica, and they have a presence here in Trinidad, as you know, too. And you hear what they bring to West Indies cricket and what they propose to help West Indies cricket to go forward. You understand how large the issues are. It is not local issues only. It's not Caribbean issues. It's international issues. And it is always seen in that light. So the point I'm making about the West Indies board meeting minutes is that it speaks to those kinds of issues. And the strategic plan is reflective of those kinds of issues. So it is not only peculiar to playing cricket. It is not only about how you fix a pitch and so on. It is certainly much more than that. Because the operational environment now is a different environment than 30, 40 years ago. It is now international business. It is a business model that you have to look at. But it is a business model that has elements of volunteerism and elements of a number of institutions, meaning in this case the territorial boards, coming with their own view on things at their own stage of development. And you have to now put all of that together and create a model that is unique to the Caribbean, but with certain fundamentals remaining. Finance remains, administration remains, organizational structure remains, human resource remains. They all remain. So I thought I'd spend a minute on that to let the public know that the West Indies board, when they discuss matters, it's serious business.
Well, I'm really, really thankful for that part because far too often when we talk West Indies cricket, we bash the president, we bash the selectors, we bash the players, you know. But I'm glad I got the opportunity today to get like the back, what goes on behind the scenes with the West Indies cricket. And more so, as you started the interview, giving us a detail as to why it is we not performing, the whole cultural aspect and everything. But we recently qualified for the 2019 World Cup, right? What would you like to see, or what team, or what are the players that you would like to see comprise that team if we are to go across and be competitive? Because we saw that many times here in the qualifiers, we struggled against lesser known teams.
All right. 2 years ago, is it? Last year or year before? We won the T20 men, T20 women, World Under 19.
Yeah.
Three out of the 5 or 6 forms of the game. And yet you never heard any West Indian journalist or reporter big it up. Almost as, oh, it's an aberration, it happened by chance. It didn't happen by chance, you know. I remember when I was there way back, Julian Hunt saying, all right, T20, and I'm talking about the tournament last time, it's 5 years away or whatever. Let us plan now for that. The 50 over tournament is 3 years from now. Let's plan now for that. Test cricket is so much, well, that's every year. Let's plan for that. So what I am saying is, it didn't happen by accident. The West Indies board had deliberately started to develop expertise in those areas and had in their selection policy to identify people in territories who would lend themselves to a T20 structure or 50 over structure or test team structure. Our scouts go around, you know. Graham West, out of the old, what you call the high performance centers, since been changed. He was around in every territory last year, scouting for fast bowling talent. Now he was doing that with his head, his mind, not on this forthcoming one, you know, the next one after that. So he looking for young people. And all the territories, even in the structure of their competitions, you get extra points for fast bowling. You get bonus points. That is a deliberate, that's where you build into the model the desire to develop a certain area of talent or expertise to lend itself to T20 cricket or to lend itself to 50 over cricket. So when we won last year or year before, it did not happen by accident. Okay, so what do we do now for next year? The same thing had started, but we did not have our best players. So to answer your question, first, all the fellas must commit.
Yeah.
The Pollards and the Bravos and all those boys must commit. Fortunately, it's not clashing with any IPL or anything else.
So we should have...
So in theory, we should have all the boys. But at the same time, we are mindful you need to have new talent because they too are going to be soon going off and new people have to come to replace them. And that's where the CPL comes in. And that's where you identify talent in the CPL also. And then you bring those boys into a camp, which is what we've been doing for years. When the T20 team won, that's what they did. When the women won, that's what they did. So a lot of things happen behind the scenes from the point of view of planning, talent identification and spotting, the types of competitions which you have locally, and therefore trying to harness talent with a view to winning. Because at the end of the day, you could be internally efficient, but if you don't win, it's no use, you know. Because people only gauge in you by who win the gold medal. Nobody remembers when you win a silver or a gold, not a gold, a bronze.
A bronze.
They also ran. And when you look at the Guinness Book of Records, they only are gold medal winners. So we want to be gold medalists.
So we need to get back to that.
We are doing it. It is not that we have ever got away from it. But because the other
not consistently.
Yes. And what we are doing is the strategic plan speaks it. And I'll get a copy to you. The strategic plan speaks it. And the prior strategic plan spoke to it also. And that is why 2 years ago we won those 3 tournaments, for which West Indies board got no credit.
So you are hoping that if the same procedure is put in place, we can go
be competitive, equally competitive.
Because we have the players, eh?
Yeah.
We have the players.
Yeah.
You know.
The challenge right now is with women's cricket. If I could speak for that just for a minute. We just had it concluded on Sunday, the
Under 19.
Under 19 women. 4 of the 6 territories participated, the other 2 couldn't afford it. And that's the other issue of affordability, because there are no sponsors for these things. So the West Indies board sponsored the Under 19. And it was played in Trinidad because we are the ones who had first proposed it. And we pushed for it. And it's only on our insistence that the West Indies Under 19 is held. And it's held here because we are the cheapest in the Caribbean, believe it or not. And we were able to, through sponsorship from Metro Hotel, we have a partnership with Metro Hotel in Cuba. We were able to house the people there. And we were able to host it. But you see, you need more of that. So the Leeward's Island women's cricket, for example, is not vibrant enough. And the others are not vibrant enough. So there are areas of deficiency. I don't want to give the impression that we're working in every front. It doesn't work that way. So it's unequal development or uneven development from territory to territory. But it's happening. So we just have to do that. But at the same time, I want to remind you, I started by saying this. There are great challenges in our society, external to the cricket environment. Issues of survival, issues of poverty, issues of housing that are affecting young people. And not as many young people are playing cricket at this level as before. They're playing minor league. Eh? So don't get the impression no cricket is being played. Plenty of cricket is being played. But that's an explosive relief on a weekend on one day only. But the more concentrated and focused team sports in an organizational structure like the cricket board. We have a major challenge in Trinidad, as we have in Jamaica, as we have in Barbados, as we have everywhere. People speak about Barbados. I was speaking to Ghana a week before or something, and he was telling me even in Barbados they have challenges at the club level.
Well, Dr. Sammy, I truly enjoyed this interview here, and I think it was enlightening to the fact that, you know, as I said earlier, we didn't really go behind the selectors and the players, but we went behind the scenes to bring to the viewers as much information as we could have to let them know what is happening behind the scenes. Yes, we are not winning, and you know that's our culture. We like to win, so we're going to come down on everybody. But I want to take this opportunity to maybe at a later date to invite you to come back as we could continue to elaborate or to add to what we spoke to about today. But I want to thank you very much and wish you all the best. And let's look forward to 2019 World Cup. And as you said, once things are put in place, we should be competitive. But again, I extend an invitation to you at another date to come and to continue, you know, where we left off today.
I'd love to come anytime and bring somebody who's opposed to me too, so we'll have a debate.
Thank you very much. Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another edition of Scoreboard here. Dr. Allan, Sammy, we were talking West Indies cricket, and I know some of you who were viewing maybe was looking for that bashing of the players and the selectors and who's supposed to be captain and who not doing that. But maybe in the next episode, we would go down that road. But today, we really chose an opportunity to educate you more or less as to what happens behind the scenes. So if you miss any part of this program, you choose to look at it. We have a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. And you can join us next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. for another edition here of Scoreboard on ACTN. Have a blessed week ahead.